Okay,
All right.
cool. So, good afternoon, everyone. This is your gin drinking dark elf Tomo here, and today I'm being joined by Liam Cole Colston and the Tunnel Marauders coach Atomic Caleb. How you doing today, gentlemen?
I'm
Not
pretty
bad.
good, thanks, Tomo. So, yes.
Cool. This is, of course, your Big O Week 2 recap. So, to start, Liam's going to take us on a journey around the grounds.
All right. So, what happened in the Big O week? In week 2, we had starting in Division 3, we had the Wumphners were on a bye this week, so they got the 2-0 concede victory. We actually had Crushivania versus Irreductibility, so that was a concede victory. That match didn't get played, so Crushivania took the win there. We had the Walk Machine versus the Cullen Skinks. That was a 0-0 draw there. Then the Canamar Dragons played the SI Earthshakers, and that was a 1-1 tie. Holly Mur played Scabby Eye, and that was a 1-1 tie. And then in a match that was streamed by Tomo, the Phallus Cowboys played Echoes of Ulthway, and that was a 2-1 victory to Tomo's team. So moving on to the ladder, we can see that Echoes of Ulthway, Tomo's team, are currently in top spot on 2-0, and it's quite close to start the season. Not anyone really running away, just Tomo and Drac Tactics are both on 2-0, having won all their matches so far. Moving on to Div 2, we can see that the Razor Leafs had a bye this week, getting the concede victory there. Wes C's Wolves played fun and interactive. That was a 1-1 tie. That red dot means that we streamed it. So go check that out if you want to see a good match. Tunnel Marauders lost to the Rat Lovers 1-2. TARDIS played Straight Out Nuffle. This match was also streamed. TARDIS ended up winning 2-1. And the Flying Rainbow Ponies beat Triple Extra Cheese Toppin 3-1. Moving on to the ladder, and we can see that on top, TARDIS and the Flying Rainbow Ponies are both on 2-0-0, so they've had a good start to the season. Other than that, not too much to report. It's a standard 2 week into the season thing. Wes C's Wolves is just behind them on 1 win and 1 draw. Moving to Division 1, this week the Capital Rats were on bye, so Tony Habit had the week off, getting a 2-0 concede victory there. It's the Speedsters played the Bad Phoenix. They ended up getting the win there, 2-1. Duck Confederacy and the Cold Coast Cutthroats were meant to play, but Sam Slade is still away, so a 2-0 concede victory was awarded to Duck Confederacy. Bash Incorporated and the Astro Orcs had a good match that we casted. That was a 1-1 tie in the end there. Dwarven Around and the New World Order were meant to face off, but Dwarven Around is yet to show up for a match this season and did not participate in that match either, giving New World Order the win. The Bay Area Butchers and White Line played off, and White Line won that 2-1. And then probably the best match for the week over the whole of the conference was Reese's Ravens versus Shadow Hill Cowboys. We casted that. That was a thrilling match, really, and that ended up being 2-2. So looking at the ladder for Div 1, White Line are currently on top, and they're equal with Duck Confederacy and New World Order. It's interesting to note that the New World Order haven't actually played a match yet, their first 2 matches being concede victories. But other than that, it's going to be quite a good playoff race in this division with, I believe, the top 3 players getting in. We have some good coaches on 1 win and 1 draw, like Walkathon, Sandune, Reese, and Papa Nasty. So it should be good to see how they go over the course of the season. And that's it for Around the Grounds Week 2.
Okay, awesome. So, I can actually get in the game now. Cool. So, this week with our, review of the teams, for anyone that's first time watching, we normally just, each of us that are taught here on commentary, I'll just pick a team, talk about them a little bit, and we'll talk about the standings in the league and just that sort of thing. So first is Division 3. Caleb, you're the guest this week. I'll give you the pick of the teams.
Alright. Well, let's see how the Kanamia Dragons and the SI Earthshakers went with the 1-1 draw.
So which team do you want to look at? The roster of? The Kanima Dragons or...
So, the Kanama Dragons, the one focusing on.
Okay.
Alright.
Where are they? Clearly, I'm really good at this.
Lizard Man team.
Coached by
Not
Tiggers
much development.
McMuffin.
Here they are. So they're a bit bare though with the no level ups, but get that Croc's getting the MVP. Just need one more Kaz and be looking at some interesting level ups.
Well, yeah, he's actually had some very good starting Saurus development. You don't want your skink
You can
stealing all
see,
the.
like, he's
Oh.
also got this Forest touchdowns, which is really good for a Lizardman team. Because like getting block and definitely mighty blow, as Liam would say, is always a good thing. MVPs are also divided: Croc, Saurus, and Skink.
Yeah, they've started quite well, haven't they?
It's a nice start. It's not any level up seems to make it a bit slow.
Yeah, it looks like it's been
And
quite
also with the
unlucky.
2 rerolls, definitely take a bit of time to build up team.
Mm.
The
Yeah,
1-1 draw, it's not bad, not great. They've also had 1 win, 1 draw, so it's a good start. And they also looks like they didn't have spin games, which doesn't help.
yeah, we looked at that. If you have a look at the actual their game against the SIR Shakers, it
If we
actually
look at
looks
the
like it was a bit
game,
of a close one. Yeah, 6 armor breaks to
so
9
just
armor
looking at the
breaks.
breaks. Oh, I keep going to day 3.
Oh, is this?
Well, yeah, they've started quite solidly getting all that SPP on the Saurus with like 4 touchdowns going to them, so that's always handy.
They had the ball possession, the passes, less injuries though, even though similar blocks succeeded.
But yeah, they should be an interesting team to watch develop over the course of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Lizard
So it
teams are
looks like
always
if
fun.
the armor breaks are more fair, the Konami Dragons might have been able to come out successful.
Yeah. Well, shall we move on to the next team?
Yeah, cool. Away you go, Liam.
Yeah. Looking at the teams, I reckon we'll check out the other Lizardman team, the Cullen Skinks.
Okay.
They just to see how the two are going and compare them. Now you can say that this one's better, but I guess they're both similar, really. This one has 1 skill up Saurus, which is handy, but not quite as even a spread of touchdowns on the Sauri.
So what do you think of that block instead of Mighty Blow? I'm sure you'd
I
take Mighty
think,
Blow.
I know it's tempting. It's always tempting to take Mighty Blow, but especially since he does have 3 rerolls already. But I can't really argue too much against block here. I do
Block
like
is a
Mighty
solid
Blow.
choice.
Maybe on your second or your third pickup for Saurus, but you can get it on the first. I can see the reason in that.
So
as
do you
well.
guys call it Saurus or Saurai?
I was
This has been discussed in
enlightened.
the Discord.
Yeah, I was enlightened by one of our Lizardmen player. It is like the plural of Saurus is actually just Saurus.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's correct English or not, it doesn't really matter. That's just how Games Workshop have ruled it. So it is actually Saurus.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll just say it wrong every now and then accidentally. But yeah, they've had a solid start. Looking at their history so far, Their last match was a 0-0 tie, which are always interesting to see a defensive match like that. As there was the only SVP other than the MVP was one casualty to the Croxigor, I believe. So
Yeah, the nil draws aren't great for SPP.
yeah, and the other match was just a concede victory. So it's been not too exciting so far for this Lizard team. But I mean, a concede victory means you get 2 MVPs, which is handy, and it looks like they've landed on the Saurus.
Looks
So
like the gold got them the extra reroll from
yes,
the
that's true as well.
concede,
That's really
which
handy.
is great when you don't have much block
Yeah. So yeah.
and no like sure hands or anything, or agility 4.
Well, Tomo, is there another team you'd like to have a look at
Yeah, sure.
in Div?
So as you know, I always like to choose, the new teams that have just kind of like joined the league. I like to give everyone, their own little shot. So the teams that weren't here for the season preview, this is like your chance to have the light shone on you. And this week I'm gonna choose. Well, last week I did Irreducibility, and this week the next team along is the Wumpfners. Again,
Were they there
DayZ.
at the start?
I don't think so. I can check my Google Docs quick.
No, he's one of the new ones.
Is yeah. All right.
But yeah, DayZ, if I'm saying that wrong, I know you're normally in my Twitch chat quite a lot. Just enlighten me. We have a look at the team roster. He's gone for 2 throwers, 2 storm vermin, 2 gutter runners, which I believe that style of thing is the Skaven box set that Games Workshop have brought out with
Without the
their new
Roger.
Skaven thing. Yeah, but
Yeah.
as you say, they've got the Roger on at the end, who's actually managed to get a level up already, and he's took break tackle. I like break
Yep,
tackle
that's why he's a good choice.
because when you take, I've mentioned this a few times on my recaps and on my streams and things, when you're playing with a wild animal, you really need to commit to either hitting or blitzing. And break tackle just makes sure that you can actually, get to a
Yeah.
target and actually hit them on your turn, which is, just super, super important. Aside from that, he's had some good level ups. He's got, a strength 3 gutter runner, which is just amazing. Build this guy is, either a ball carrier or a ball sacker, and you're going to be able to do some work with him. A strength
It's more of a
4
ball carrier.
thrower makes that. I mean, you've got a really good ball carrier for running there. I think sure hands, strength 4. You get blodge on this guy. There isn't going to be many people that are going to be able to knock him down, or at least get 2 dice on your
Strength
ball
4
carrier.
Blodger is just
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
not
good.
right.
It's really, really,
Well,
really good. So
Well, yeah, someone needs to kill that strength 3 gutter runner before it gets blocked.
I've
Sorry.
got one of those as well.
Oh well, you're just highlighting it. Someone has to get rid of that before it gets blocked, because
They can try.
yeah, well they're just really nasty once they get block dodge. And how would you develop a strength 3? Strength 3 gutter runner if you got it first. If you were to get 3 normal skills after it, Tomo.
for me, it'd be my ball sacker. I'd be giving him wrestle. I'd be giving him strip ball, and
See,
probably leap. No, he's got dodge. So wrestle, strip ball, and perhaps leap, and I just make it so that he can jump
with
in
your
the middle of a
ball
cage and actually
sacker, I
get
find
dice.
Dauntless is better.
Dauntless? Yeah, see,
Yeah.
How many ball carriers are you gonna come across with strength 4 though? Really?
that's the thing. See, I've
Yeah.
never been a fan, even on strength 2 ball sackers, gutter runners and wood elf catchers and the like, because I just prefer, even if you're throwing 2 dice uphill, it's if you get strip ball and you've got wrestle, the only thing that actually fails for you is a skull. So if you can just not get a skull on your 2 dice blocks, now there's a decent chance
Which
you get
is
a
a
skull.
65% chance for the reroll.
Yeah. So you got a really good chance of getting the ball out. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of Dauntless on him, but it might be
So
the thing.
Dauntless is something you get a bit later. Like once you've got wrestle, strip ball, and then you want to go Dauntless, then lead, or the other way around.
I don't like Dauntless
Yeah,
at
I
all,
guess
to be
that's
honest with you. I think Tackle, if you're going into like other things, I think Tackle's a much stronger choice because then you're
Not when you have
removing
well, I
like the
find.
defender stumbles.
Yeah, see, I think in with the strength 3, there's a couple chaos teams in here, but usually they're going to carry with beastmen.
But when you
So
have the thrower as strength 4, you want him as the ball carrier anyway.
now I don't know if I'd take Dauntless on him, just because that's strength 3. You don't really need another strength or 2. You're
No,
already going to
not with
get one
strength 3, you
dice.
don't need Dauntless. Maybe Horns, just if you're feeling greedy.
Well, horns could be good, although very long legs might come before that if he's got leap and is a sacker. So
Yeah, or even sidestep.
You'd
plenty
want
of.
strip
Keep him
ball
in
and
position.
wrestle first, though.
Well, I mean, us arguing about the the development options shows just how many paths DayZV can take. So that's a really handy tool for him to have going forward for this team.
Yep, absolutely. If we have a look at his recent match, oh, was he playing the? Did he have a bye that week against the Packmasters? Oh, hang on,
No,
let
it
me
was
check the
Scabby Eye, wasn't
schedule.
it?
Yeah, Scabby Eye was his beaten. Oh yeah, that's his week 3 match. But
Yeah,
yes, he
week
would have
two
Oh,
had a
he
yeah.
had
bye
a
against
bye against the
the
Packmasters.
Packmasters.
So
So yeah, interesting scores. Looking even at his first game against the rookie Chaos team, considering it was a 2-all draw and there were 57 blocks on the Chaos team. That's how many blocks they had, and 25 to the Wumfners, which is interesting because if you can, like, I think 25 is a good total for a Skaven or Wood Elf, a speed-based team, but really try and get your blocks down, or you're going to just have people die. Because 57 with AV7,
Only 2
that's not going to
injuries
end
out of
well.
57 blocks is really good.
That is 57 blocks, and they didn't necessarily hit the ground, but like looking at armor breaks, there were 17 armor breaks and only 2 injuries. So
yeah, you.
I think to take the next level, got to minimize that blocks against.
Yeah,
I
I
absolutely
think
agree.
they did quite well.
Like, if you look at his team, yeah, you're right when you say he's got 2 injuries, but um, if you keep getting, keep giving your opponent like 17 armor breaks on you every game, you're not gonna have, 12
Yeah.
rats like you do now
Those
for very long.
injuries were also in alignment with MNG. Yeah, MNG.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Lyman is supposed to just die, like
Lyman is supposed to take the hits. He
especially
just
on
has
So
to
saves.
he's
get
done well.
plenty.
Yeah,
He's done well to get the lineman to take the hits.
Yeah, well, 57, the problem I see with that is 57 blocks is nearly enough to take out all the linemen. And that's when you got to watch out, because playing Skaven when you have no linemen, there's no one to just get in the way and take those hits for your actual good players. So, yeah.
You end up having to put your good players on the line, which definitely isn't very good.
Yes.
Okay, so if we have a look at the current leaderboard, of course there's been some, week 3 games played, which, as you can probably see, I'm trying to ignore a little bit. But
Yeah.
the division is still, as Cole mentioned during the around the grounds, it's still super close. No one's running away with it. Well, I guess you could say Drac Tactics is running away from it because he hasn't lost yet. But the gap between all the teams is not insurmountable by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
guys,
it's early in the season. Although we should, yeah. Well, he's taken the lead away from you, Tomo. We'll have to check that out next week, eh?
and I'll do
So-
I'll do something to get him back at some point. I'm
Yeah.
sure. But yeah.
So yes.
So that's all for Division 3. Let's keep this moving. And No, cool. Did you pick a team? You did, yeah. Okay.
Yes, I did.
So we'll move on to Division 2.
Div 2.
So once again, Caleb, you got your pick of the teams. Who do you want to talk about?
Alright, let's look at the Dwarf team. Fun and interactive.
Okay. That's of course coached by Lark.
He, of course, hasn't taken my advice and gone to the Death Roller. I think he's gone for the extra Troll Slayer.
Well, yeah, this team's quite interesting because he's only got one Troll Slayer and one runner.
With piling on, so he'll be on the ground half the time.
Well, yeah,
And
that's
without
that's
jump
especially
up,
surprising. Yeah.
it is Mighty Blow piling on though, which is quite deadly.
Well, I remember from our first. Tomo might remember as well in our original recap of all the divisions. He didn't. Lark explained that he didn't want the AV8 because he considers it a weakness. So, yeah, it should be interesting. All that
He's got
guard.
to be careful with not to let it go down in a place where he can be fouled with AV8.
Hmm. What do you think about Tomo?
I think because he's only got the one, he's got the two AV8 guys, yeah, sure, but I think that because it's only those two, it's easy enough to defend. Especially when you have all of these, dwarfs with guard all over the place. Like, Crusader saying in
Yeah.
chat, they're neither fun nor interactive. You can kind of see why, when you look at this team and you're thinking, okay, where am I going to get my 2 dice blocks then? If he positions his guard pieces well, which I seem to remember him doing, quite well when I watched his week 3 game against Crusader, that just happened yesterday.
As someone who's played against him, I have to agree with Crusader here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like,
pretty. I mean, he's
You can
pretty
see
good.
where he went wrong in his previous match with a 1-all draw, only 17 armor breaks out of 54 blocks.
that's a
Yeah.
game
See, well,
against West Seas
that's where
Wolves, yeah.
he needs to get Mighty Blow. And I think I've said this every week for this team, and I'm sure the coach will know that. But all that guard, now you got to start actually, making those 2 dice blocks punish the other team and getting those injuries.
Well, yeah, I agree, and I think that's pretty true. Like, I've watched a few of Lark's games, and he seems to win just by being super consistent. Like, the teams when he's playing, he doesn't have to roll dice at all because he's constantly this like just big unstoppable force. He doesn't need to dodge because everyone's always on the ground because he's always getting 2 dice blocks on everything. So
He's good at forcing you to roll dice. Lark is a
honestly, I
good
just
player.
think guard, 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 guard. It's like super try hard, but it's working out so well for him just because of that consistency.
Yeah.
4 rerolls as well.
Yeah, that's a bit surprising. That's quite a bit of TV there, considering that he only has 11 players, which is, I guess, fair enough for a dwarf team, especially when you only have one Slayer and one runner. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he goes. He's emerged quite strongly early, I think. Um, his record's only 1-1-1 to start, so not the best record ever, but he's pretty strong.
Yeah, but that one loss was just some Skaven bullshit.
Yeah, if you could watch the swearing in this program, please.
Yeah,
But
that's your one.
yeah, that's your one for the
My
show.
one.
Yeah, but if you
Gotta
count his
keep
spin
PG.
games as well as his league games, it's 3 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses. So overall, it is a very well, he's got 7 games of development now as we're looking at it. And the majority of his games, well, I guess you could say it's about 50-50 result. He has wins,
Yeah.
but I guess he's also got losses as well.
So yeah. Well, are we going to move on to the next team?
Yep, it's your pick.
Yeah. I think. Trying to think of teams we haven't looked at. I don't reckon we've looked at TARDIS, and we've been looking at lots of Lizardmen teams so far. So let's look at
Lizardman show.
TARDIS. But yeah, they've had a really good start. They were 2-0. If you look at their statistics, they are 4 wins, 2 draws, and 0 losses in their entire history. So they have had a really impressive start to the season. So yeah, they beat the Rat Lovers and straight out of Nuffle so far. And if you look at that team, a guard Croxigal, that's pretty handy. He'd be very frustrating because that guard, as well as prehensile tail, means you don't want to be next to him. And then the Saurus have been developing quite well. He's already got 1-2 skill Saurus, which is pretty good for 6 games, which has block and tackle. So that's pretty handy for him. He has a Mighty Blow Saurus. He also has just a simple block Saurus. And looking at the skinks, they're all decently developed. A block dodge skink is always so good for a Lizardman team because he can become the ball carrier who actually is a bit more reliable if he does end up taking a hit.
Jump up ball carrier.
Yeah, have you
What
had
do
the
you guys
opportunity
think?
to watch any? Have you had the opportunity to watch this team play yet? Cool.
I actually haven't. They've had a really good start. We'll have to check him out.
Right.
He hasn't played his match for this week yet, so yeah, we might have to see later. But he's obviously pretty good.
Yeah, I've been lucky. I've managed to catch I think all of his games so far, and that Saurus right in the middle with a block tackle, Amy Pond, is a complete monster. And what I mean by monster is that in every single game I've watched him play, there's been a ball that's bounced up and it's bounced right into the air above Amy Pond, and she's gone ahead and just rolled the 6 every single time to catch that ball. And that's where like SPP is coming from. I think she's got like 4 touchdowns to her name already. You know, it's something stupid like that.
Statistics.
So.
Wow, the statistics: 5 touchdowns scored. That's insane.
Is that just for the player? Like,
Out of
can you
6
see
matches.
Yeah. 5 touchdowns of 6 matches. That's pretty unprecedented for a Saurus, really.
How did you see that?
Only 1 casualty.
If you go click on the player and then go statistics.
Yeah. So, you know, before the season started, Mirascado, you know, he pointed out to Amy Pond, he said, you know, this is going to be my star player of the season, you know. And, you know, Amy Pond's definitely not let him down, so.
Yeah.
1 injury sustained.
So, the Saurus has even got beaten up a bit, and still, that's pretty crazy to get 5 touchdowns in 6 games for any player, let alone a Saurus.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's no bounty on this piece yet, but, you know, it's not my division, so. Come on, Div 2
Interesting
coaches,
choice
step
of
it up.
tackle. How many elves are there in this? We got High Elf, we got
if you look at
Skaven,
the
we got
matchup,
Elf. There's quite a couple elf teams in this, so I guess, yeah, tackle's pretty decent. Who does he have next up? Look at the schedule. He's got the Flying
the
Rainbow
Razorleafs.
Ponies. Does it?
Yeah, week 3 is the Flying Rainbow Ponies, which is Hiruma Majire's
I
High
was
Elf
looking at
team.
week 4.
Yeah.
So, High Elf.
They'll have some dodge, so, yeah, Amy Pond should get some work done there.
High Elf followed by Wood Elf.
Yeah. Well, that pretty much sums it up. So,
Followed by
TARDIS,
Skaven.
watch out. Watch out for
2
them.
elves and a Skaven.
So, yeah, that probably was a bit of a situational pick there, looking forward into his schedule going, I got lots of elves and that to come. So,
Oh yeah, having tackle's just good practice. But anyway, moving on. It's my pick now. I don't think there's any other new teams to pick. I think I did the Garand Cold ones last week because I recognize.
Yes, you did.
I remember talking about the runner. So I think this week I will talk about. Let's have a look at Wesley's Wolves.
We have casted one of their matches, I believe, which was against, was it Lark? I think it was. Against the dwarf team we looked at.
Honestly, I don't really
1-0?
remember so far. Like, I've seen so many matches this season.
Yeah, we casted Fun and Interactive versus Wes Sees Wolves. So if you want to look at a match, it was an alright match. It was quite bloody. But yeah, it was just a 1-1 tie. So not too exciting. But some good development for Wes C.
Yeah, the reason I picked them out is because their whole team just looks super solid. And, you know, I feel like every single choice he's made is the same choice that I would make too. He's taken blocks on both of his werewolves on their level ups. It keeps them on their feet, it keeps them solid. Maybe you could have thought about building one of them into a ball sacker instead and taking wrestle instead of block, but block is still a super solid choice. Flesh golems, you just got guard on one of them. They just built in these big rocks. I always find flesh golems super obnoxious to deal with. If you see my game that I just played yesterday, you can probably see how frustrated I get trying to deal with flesh golems. And of course, his whites have had some, solid SPP as well, with one getting an MVP and the other one inflicting a Kaz at some point. Obviously, his star of this team so far, though, is his Agility 4 Blodge Ghoul, Ugly Joe, which, is just amazing to have on a team like this. Agility 4 is it just makes picking the ball up, on a 2 plus instead of a 3 plus. I know it doesn't really sound like a huge difference, but it's just made so much more consistent. And then, of course, you've got Blodge as well, which means that, we're still early on in the league, and these were fresh teams, so, there's not a huge amount of tackle flying around. So, having that blodge and forcing your opponent to have to roll, defend it down to put your ball carrier down is so huge. And even his zombie, Fred, with the dirty player, as well as the fact he's got 13 players, means that he can afford to foul and actually go for some of these removals, whereas other coaches with not so many players might be a bit hesitant to. So it's just a super solid, super consistent team, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, if you're me though, you'll end up getting the power anyway with the defender down.
Well, it's not every day that happens, so it's so good though having 13 players as well, and just means like obviously with dirty player he's going to use zombies and do what they do best, which is foul. So
Just jump on the enemy while they're down.
yeah, like what would any self-respecting zombie do? But yeah, I think it's, and like obviously West C's a good coach. He's 5-2-0 in his record so far, which means like looking at coaches that have had good starts to the season, both TARDIS and West C haven't lost a match yet. So
When did they play?
They played. I just checked. They play week 8, so it's still a while
Right.
away though, sadly. But yeah, they look like some really good contenders come into season.
Yep, absolutely. So,
So
having looked at, we've each picked a team, we'll have a quick look at the leaderboard, and we're still on sort of, again, we're halfway through week 3 here, so, the leaderboards are a little bit distorted looking at the main client. You can see, the leagues every now and again flashing across at the bottom right of the screen, so you can see, how it actually finished at the end of week 2. But, Wes C, who I mentioned, he's obviously got another win during his week 3, so, he's currently sitting top of the board. Mira Skadu, if he manages to take a win this week, will obviously leapfrog him up into first spot again. Or the Flying
it's
Rainbow Ponies,
interesting to say
actually.
that, Tomo. Yeah, we'll see. It's Flying Rainbow Ponies and TARDIS are playing this week, and they both haven't lost. So that should be a really good match to see
So
who
someone will go into first.
possibly first. Yeah, probably, unless it's a tie and they get randomly sorted behind West C. But it should be interesting to see what happens in that match.
Let's hope one of them wins.
Oh, no one wants to cast a boring draw, so yeah, every single time, you like to see a winner. But sure.
Let's just flip a coin at the end if it's a tie.
2-1 grinds and ties.
I've had enough of seeing overtime games and things, and that's just as good as a coin flip anyway recently.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's
get controversial.
let's move back onto, where the big boys live in Division 1.
So yeah, Atomic Caleb, do you have any teams that you are jealous of or like the look of so far in Div?
I like the look of 1930 TV of the Bash Incorporated.
Yep.
Is that your pick?
So
Papa
That's where you're going to
Nasty?
get Morg and a Wizard.
Are we going to check them out, or is anyone else?
Nah, I want to look at these guys.
All right. That's 3 Mighty Blow piling on players. Pretty nasty.
This just looks like a not fun team to play against. The stand firm troll with guard. Lots of other mighty blow, tackle, piling on. Everything as block.
Yeah, you're
There's also
right.
some stat ups. AG4 Blitzer opens up a lot of options, especially with the throwers.
And
No
that's
strong arm thrower.
But yeah, what do you think about the block dauntless lineman, Caleb?
It's an interesting pick. Really have to say. I don't see any kick or dirty player either, which makes me think it would have been a better choice.
Especially with 13 players on an Orc team. I mean, they've got quite good armor, so you can send in the boot a bit.
Looking at this player, he's got 3 MVPs, 2 Kaz inflicted out of 15 matches. So he's an interesting player. Have a lineman who can do blocks, and with Dauntless, he can take on whatever he wants, really.
I think Pavanasi must be just licking his lips. Look at that. 2 jump up players. One of them doesn't even have piling on yet. So he might have 4 Mighty Blow piling on players. So that's great. As I mentioned before, that's 4 is sort of the golden ratio of Mighty Blow, because when you receive a kickoff, you get your 3 LOS blocks and your 1 blitz. So he can inflict, if he wants, 4 Mighty Blow piling on hits.
I don't think this team needs DP, because when they go down, they get injured anyway with 4 piling on Mighty Blows.
Yeah. Pretty nasty. What do you think, Tomo?
First of all, I'm kind of glad we pointed out Papa Nasty's team. I just get to the opportunity for apologize for getting his name wrong at the end of our cast the other day. So I'm just making sure that everyone knows that I did make a mistake and I'm sorry. But Papa Nasty is a very, very intelligent coach. As he enlightened me to a lot of things yesterday, and I learned a lot from casting with him. I'm used to casting with all these pansy wood elves, so casting with a right proper bash coach actually was quite enlightening. I think that you were mentioning the lack of kick and stuff. I don't think it's really an issue with this team. Like, if you're playing like an elf or a Skaven team, then yeah, sure, take kick, try and pin them back or go short or just exploit a hole in their formations or things. But I don't think Papa Nasty really cares where the ball's going to be landing with this team, so
I'm sure we'll get to hear him talk in a sec.
I can't really.
Yeah, speaking of Papa Nasty.
Yeah, I actually just saw that you guys are casting and happened to open up, and you're talking about my team. I thought, well, I should pop in here and clear up a couple of things. First up, Tomo, that's all good that you got my name wrong, mate. Don't worry about it. No problems at all. With this team, I thought, lend some insights. First up, I've got Sand Dune next week. Lazy farts. Time is unfortunately at an end. There is a 90% chance that he's getting fired. My guard stand firm troll, because I want to drop my team value a little bit before I face off with Sand Dune. The lineman that has block and dauntless. Now, I actually do want a dirty player. Since I initially went and built this team, at the sort of the start of last season, and that guy ended up quickly. That guy leveled up quickly because he kept stealing all the MVPs. And I went through and I actually initially I got him block too, because I want everybody to have block ideally, then I actually found them so useful for I think I was playing against lizards, and I just marked them up on a Saurus for the whole game, and just took knocks from the Saurus all game, and I thought, well, most of the time the Saurus was just pushing me around. I thought, well, why don't I put Dauntless on him, and then I can start smacking the Saurus around as well. And so that's the purpose of the Dauntless. There is basically my intention is just put them up on put them marking a strength 4 player. I'm AV9. They can knock me around for a bit. Maybe I can knock them around a bit as well. Also, as well, you'll see that I've added in Dirty Doug there as a 13th player. That's I did that actually a couple of weeks ago on the intention that I knew that that Lazy Fart was going to get the chop, and I was hoping that Dirty Doug would maybe get an MVP or skill up or something before then, but unfortunately he hasn't. But yeah, so that'll leave me with 12, and the intention is for Dirty Doug to do what Dirty Doug does best. But he's kind of crap at the moment with no skills.
Don't get any SPP for the fouling though, so gotta hope for an MVP or something.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Well, that should be an interesting match. You versus Sand Dune, Papa Nasty. I think you need to tear up some elves, honestly.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, I'm very hopeful. I mean, like, you know, I respect Sand Dune. He's an awesome coach. And to be honest, I don't know if I'll win or not, you know, like, but I know that he's going to be hurting afterwards. And to be honest, as an orc, that's what I fucking care about. Everybody in the division, you know, once everyone knows that Sanju's the man to beat, you know, and how do you beat a man with a team like that? You beat him with a stick while he's asleep. And that's what I'm going to do to him.
Doing the rest of the div a favor.
Like I mean, I don't know if I can realistically compete with the amount of blodge, and I think he's got 2 Agi 5, 2 Strength 4. You know, both of which have blodge. I think he does maybe have one player with Mighty Blow. You know, and like I mean, I don't think he'll be able to really hurt my guys, but like yeah, I mean, I intend on going into a brawl rather than going into a game of Blood Bowl.
He does have a lot of setups. No Mighty Blow though.
No Mighty Blow. Well, that's good for me. I can hopefully keep 11 on the field and just watch out for the serfs. But like I mean, basically he's got a good team. I mean, I anticipate that he will try and probably score quickly against me, force me onto offense. You know, and then while I'm on offense, he's got 11 players while I've got to protect the ball, which will reduce the amount of bashing that I can do. But we'll see. You know, if he tries to stall it out, it's I don't know. This could be interesting.
Well, yeah, we might have to try and cast that match if it's not at an insane time, because that should be a really
2 a.m.
good match. Please no. But
yeah,
yes,
of course, you know, that'll be the week 4 matchup, right? So, you know, I think we'll be able to talk about,
still a while away.
the ramifications of that match in, 2 Sundays from now. So I'm sure we can look forward to that. But anyway, I guess we can start moving on to the next team then. Liam, have you got a team that you want to single out for this week?
I was actually looking at it's Speedsters. I actually haven't really looked at this team. I'm not a big fan of lizards usually. I've picked the Lizard Man team every time today. But the Speedsters have developed quite nicely, I reckon, for a Lizard Man team, since they have block on all the Saurus. They have a Croxigore. He needs a bit more, I think, but he's getting there. If he gets a Kaz, he'll skill up. And then some 2 MA9 Skinks is really handy. Both also have sure feet and sidestep. So I think this team actually is quite dangerous considering all of those block Sauri. Or Saurus. But yeah, what do you guys think?
It's only one Mighty Blow Saurus though.
That's fair enough.
He's got a great team. This team. He's his star player there. Block, dodge, break, tackle. Like all he needs to do is get tackle as well, and that's his star player. I mean, like, you know, the Mighty Blow tackle Saurus is great, but you know, that for a Lizard Man team, being able to have someone that isn't tied up by, by just someone marking them is just huge. Especially with Dodge as well. Like, he's that player is a star player for his team. He's going to do well, I think.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he needs too much Mighty Blow. Like, of course, I love Mighty Blow, but I think for Lizard, for the Saurus, they really need that block. They need some guard and also break tackle, so they can't just be marked up by linemen before often Mighty Blow, and so that takes a long time to get them there. So yeah, I really think this is a good team, and I've overlooked them a little this season. Sorry, Yasmir, but yeah, looking at their statistics, they've been about even split, 10 wins, 5 losses, at 10 wins, 5 draws, 8 losses. Their last 2 matches though, they beat Bad Phoenix and they lost to Shadow Hill, which I mean that team's pretty crazy and blodged up. So, but yeah, they're doing pretty well, I think.
Which you bring up there, this team's one weakness: no tackle.
Yeah,
That's their weakness. That's going up against the elves and things like that, where that's where they're going to potentially have trouble. But that's only one more level up on a Saurus, and they've got tackle. Because now all their Saurus have got block. But the only other thing that they're really missing is a skink that can't die. So either a blodge skink, or alternatively like an Agi 4 skink would be nice as well. Obviously, that's the dream. But like a blodge skink makes a huge difference as well.
Yeah,
but it's looking like a very good. It's a very good team already. It just needs that next stage of development just to get even just one player would tackle. Ideally, the dodge break tackle guy, and maybe another dodge break tackle as well, just to be safe. But yeah, it's looking good, this team. I would give them a good chance for the season.
It's all kind of like, a lot of the teams that I look at are all kind of blurring into one for me, because I feel like I've talked about this team before, but maybe I haven't. But I probably, if I have talked about this team before, I'm sure I've mentioned the 2 MA9 Skinks, and I'm a huge fan of that. I think that just having a movement 9 piece and having access to kind of like a Skaven style, got to run a 1-turn touchdown thing, it just means that you can a game that would otherwise be lost, you can just turn it around and bring it right back, and all of a sudden, you're drawing or even winning games that you should be getting either losses or draws normally out of. So I think that's really, really good. As you say though, like I do think that he needs a little bit of block on his skinks just to round it out a wee bit though.
Yeah. Well, he's got a really TV efficient Lizardman team. Like he's only 15-10. That's towards the lower end of teams in this division. So it's not. There's no bloat on this team, which is really good for him.
Okay, so yeah. I guess we'll move on, and then it's my pick, I guess. What team haven't we looked at this season yet? Because we know Sam's still away, so there's not really a lot of point in looking at the cutthroats.
Have you looked much at New World Order?
Okay, yeah, I can talk about them. They're playing at the minute, aren't they? They're not away or anything. It looks like it's a team that Smithy knows quite well.
I played them this week.
Alright.
Oh yeah, I can see something like that. Just loading up the roster list here and seeing 2 minus stat things. Lovely Miss Elizabeth, the 4 movement ogre with guard. That's quite interesting. Movement doesn't really matter on the ogre, so keep it and just turn her into a roadblock. It should be fine. It's got a lot of guard on his blitzers and mighty blow. Actually, I love the guard mighty blow combo. I just think you're combining consistency out of it. It's like you're consistently hitting people and getting more armor breaks, and you're getting guards, so you're making sure you're maximizing the amount of 2 dice blocks you get, but you aren't like creating like a little hole, or you aren't exposing them by piling on. Having said that, I do think it's worth having 1 or 2 piling on pieces, but I do like the consistency of just taking the guard and making sure that you can constantly knock people down. He has a bludge catcher, which is great. Everything's all good, and he's lucky enough to have lots of guard on his lineman, which, let's be honest, guard's the only real double that's worth taking on lineman ever. So,
other than Mighty Blow and Wood Elf lineman. Sorry.
I think it's just like it's so consistent, across the line, even getting, normal. Like, I know he's in a developed league, so you can expect like lots of other teams to have guard as well, so maybe they don't have the problems. But if, you come up against a player that maybe doesn't have as much guard, getting, decent blocks on this team is going to be hard, even though they're only like strength 3. You got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces, all with guard. That's a terror. And then of course you've got
Horace Hogan. Yeah.
What was that? Sorry.
He's got to be Horace Hogan has got to be the everyone has to be envy of that lineman. 2 doubles, dodge and guard, and next skill I'd imagine would be block, like a blodge guard lineman. What more can you ask for, especially on the human team?
Stand firm really as well. Yeah. Yeah, their team's solid. I mean, I just played them this week, and I'll tell you now. Like before going into the match, I kept my troll specifically for this match when I saw how much guard they have, because I was actually, despite having a 200 team value advantage or something over them, I was quite intimidated by this team because they had before. They've still got 7. They've got seven players with guard, and then had 4 players with Mighty Blow. That's huge for a human team. Like that's like my Orcs are one of the bashiest teams in this division, and I've only got 5 Mighty Blow. They've got 4, and then 7 guard. That's more guard than Walkathon's team. Only reason I think that I really sort of beat them was that I got extremely lucky. I got to I think have the first drive, and I think I got 3 removals on turn 1.
Well, that's what your team does well.
That's what my team does. But basically, that's it. Like, he's got a really great team there, and the humans, they can pass and catch the ball, as well as being able to hold their own in a scrap, especially with that much guard and Mighty Blow.
Yeah. Well, you've injured one of his best players, though. Papa Nasty. That Scott Hall at negative MA, that hurts a little there, because block, dodge, tackle, plus AG, he was quite a handy player. But
I think from memory, I actually might have hurt him on turn 1, before his first turn even. Because that guy was my target, because I've recently been playing a series of finals matches again, best of 3 against another human team where they had a Agi 4 catcher, blodge catcher, and man, that thing was a pain. When I saw this guy, Agi 4, with strength 3, oh man, this guy's got to go. He's so good. He's an elf.
Yeah.
He's an elf.
So yeah.
So
is there anyone you'd like to look at, Papa Nasty, before we round up this recap for the week?
Yeah, bonus pick. Go.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure which teams you guys have already looked at today, as I joined a bit late, but I'm not sure.
It's just been
you've already looked at.
It's just been yours. And New World Order so far. So if there's anyone else you'd like to shine a light on, say you're scared of them.
Of course, you could go through any division.
Of course.
But
Sand Dune, of course, is always interesting. Although you guys have probably done that to death in previous weeks.
Yeah, just a little.
We have, but if you want to go through it, you can.
No. I know you guys have done that in previous weeks. I think the was it White Line as well. But okay, yeah. Shadow Hill Cowboys, top team. Yeah, they've been really taking a bit of a beating lately. Like I'm not sure. I think they played Reese's Ravens. Was it
Yeah.
last week? And have they
Yeah,
played? Have
we
they played again
casted
already
that.
this week?
No, they have a bye week this week, so they will get 2-0 win.
Oh, really? Oh
Yeah, it's
man.
rubbish.
Because I'm playing them next week. I was thinking,
Yeah.
oh great, but they're not going to have any reserves. But okay,
Might not
yeah,
have to
well,
fire that troll yet.
yeah. Maybe I won't have to. I don't know, we'll see. I do quite like having a troll, but yeah, I mean they're a great team. I mean, 2 strength 4 players, 2 edgy 5 blodge players. Oh no, actually one of them doesn't have blodge, but the edgy 5 blodge it's just amazing. Like you can just literally just run through a touchdown whenever you feel like it, because you're just unstoppable. The only way to stop you is to knock you on the ground, and then jump on you. That's the only way to stop edgy 5 blodge. Unfortunately, Dirty Doug's not ready. But the only weakness I think though in his team though is that runner. That runner is just so fragile. He's got 170,000, 170 team value invested in it, and he's AV7. He's AV7.
With
Okay,
no
with
block.
dodge, but no block. You
Get
can
that
just
right.
run up to him with a normal blitzer, let alone a tackle blitzer, and just pound on him. AV7, he's gone. That's the only real weakness that I see in his team. But in saying that, he's movement 8. Movement 8 that gives them the option of a 1-turn touchdown. It also, which I would. I would almost guarantee that Sanjun is probably pretty sharp at doing those, and especially when he's got strength for witch elf. With a frenzy player, you can set up a 1-turn touchdown without the need of a blitz, and that's a huge bonus, because then even if someone's got their line, so even if they set up on the line at 2 squares from the touchdown, you can go through and blitz that line, so that then you don't have to make as sort of trickier dodges, and it just gives extra options by having that. He's got a very very good team for Dark Elves there. Just so many options. He just needs Mighty Blow. That's what he's missing, is Mighty Blow.
Yeah. So
A team without mighty players isn't great.
Yeah, he doesn't
Can always
have many
struggle.
doubles for a really good elf team. So
All his doubles are stat ups.
yeah.
It seems.
Shall we move on to the leaderboard for this week?
Yep.
It's half updated.
As soon as I can find myself on the
Actually,
page.
one other thing. Yeah, one other thing for Sanjun is actually he's only got the 2 tackle. You just noticed that. Although he does have a few wrestlers.
So he's not the best against the dodgy rats or elves like White Line or Capital Rats. So
Yeah, well, White Line will give him. They'll give him a run for his money, I'd say.
I
Without
think
the Mighty
they
Blow
play.
to nail them.
I'm pretty sure they play week 12. I know that's very late in the season. It might actually be week 13. Yeah, it is. Last week of the season.
White Line will
So,
probably outbash him with that crazy war dancer too.
well, if he lives that long. He might not. So, yes.
So yeah, we just
But looking at... Sorry, Thomas.
Okay, I'll go. Just looking at the Division 1 table, of course, Papa Nasty here on comms is currently sitting top. Of course, he's played his week 3 games. So he's him along with Walkathon are both 2 wins, 1 draw. Pulling along just after that is, of course, Cole's dad Morka, who's on 2 wins, no draws, no losses. So, you can imagine he's got a chance to be top of the table at the end of week 3. And after that, there's a lot of teams in this division that have actually, lost both of their games so far. which seems to be in contrast with like the lower divisions, because a lot of the lower divisions have at least got one draw. So everything looks like super close. Whereas with this one, you could maybe see a little bit of a gap opening up between the teams at the bottom and the teams at the top if it continues in this fashion. So
Well, yeah, there's only three playoff spots to Big O Div 1, and there's a lot of good coaches in here, and good teams. So it's going to be interesting to see who can eventually fight it out for that.
I'm actually very surprised at how quickly in the Big O Season 1, Division 1, how quickly a gap is starting to form between the teams that, like at the start of the season, you guys went through, you did your picks on who you believe would be the sort of the top 4 or top 5 sort of teams. But I can't remember which ones you guys picked, but I know that for myself, obviously I'm backing myself, Papa Nasty, Walkathons, Orcs, Morkers, Reese, and Sanjun were my top 5. Already, like we've got first, second, and third. Myself, Walkathon, Morka, and then is Reese and Sanjun. With one win, they come up to the top there as well. There's I think just with the schedule, maybe a lot of the teams that are the favourites, they haven't in the schedule maybe been sort of pitted against each other early that often, or when they have been pitted against each other, it's been a draw. Where I think Reese's Ravens and Shadow Hill Cowboys having a draw, Walkathon and I having a draw, whereas all the other ones it's been but there are still a lot of games to play on. There's been still a lot more games to play in week 3 at the moment, as we are a little bit slow this week in the Big O Division 1.
Saying that, it's a bit disappointing actually at the moment. The Shadow Hill Cowboys are of course on bye. Reese's Ravens and Bayo Butchers should be happening sometime. White Line versus Dwarven Around might not happen. Raging Cypher hasn't been around. I believe he's the coach of Dwarven Around, I think.
I really want him to play White Line.
Yeah,
I really want him to play White Line.
Some people want him to beat him up. But yeah.
I didn't. I dodged a bullet when I didn't have to play the Dwarven Around. They're brutal, man.
They are, and like all that dodge on the elves doesn't really matter against the dwarves. So I think Morka will be very happy if he doesn't have to play them and gets a concede victory there. Considering Dwarven Around hasn't played this season, but that might be happening. We will see. Cold Coast Cutthroats, Sam Slade is still away, so that probably won't be happening. So Itster will be getting a 2-0 victory there, I believe, and Bad Phoenix and Capital Rats. So this week's been a bit anticlimactic for Div 1, considering that 3 out of the 7 games aren't actually being played, possibly. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. So that looks like we've just about done that. That's our week 2 roundup just about completed. I want to thank everyone for coming. Have you guys got any final comments or anything that you want to point out, or are we just about done?
I think that's everything.
Awesome. So
yeah, should be about
it. No shout outs, nothing like that. Nope.
Not really this week. We haven't casted many games so far. We haven't seen him up. Where is everyone?
Yeah, you guys have been quite quiet. Like, tell us what's happening, Make sure we can get some games on our channels and things. But yeah, anyway, I want to thank, Atomic Caleb and Liam Coulson for being here from the start, and of course Papa Nasty for jumping in. That's Papa Nasty for jumping in. Thank you. Of course, for the YouTube guys here, if you like the video, please leave a like. If you dislike. Any comments, anything we've got wrong, anything you want to clarify for us, please leave it in the comments section below. And please subscribe to my channel for more coverage from the Big O. So that was your week 2 recap. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye. Okay guys, awesome.